What? Are we live? Okay. Wait until we go live here. Testing, are we live? Okay, was that a yes or was that a wait? Okay. Have my hand signals mixed up. We're good. Okay. So I am Carol Schneeweiss. I'm the Distance Education Director for the Department of Social Work, and I would like to ask you to stand as we bring in our Spring 2018 MSW graduates. Come on in. Then you can just sit. Did you get in? Perfect. A perfect fit. Wow. Well, welcome to you. Everybody could please have a seat. Want to take just a moment to greet all of the family and friends that are here. We know that these students could not have done this without you, and we think that you're a very important part of this journey, and you probably feel like you ought to be walking across the stage. And some of you many of you have earned that in many different ways, because without your support, they would not have been able to do this. So we're going to go ahead with our hooding ceremony, and I will introduce Dr. Randy Nettegard, who is our MSW Director.
Good afternoon. You know, I just think this is so cool because this particular graduation in the spring, it's almost all distance students. And yet, look at how many distance students we have here for our hooding ceremony. I just think that it's a real tribute to you, your commitment to your education, your commitment to our program, and the fact that you come here as a culmination of either your 2 or 3+ years up to the program, I think is really remarkable. So I think that's wonderful. I want to tell you a little bit about what you just went through. And maybe we should have told you about this at the beginning, but you know, you got to learn it sometime, right? So maybe you learn it early, late, and what do? So I want to tell you what graduate school is all about. And I'm going to tell you, these aren't really my words or even my thoughts. These are things that were told to me when I was in my PhD program by my department chair when I was in my first year in my PhD program. My department chair is a guy named Jerry Singer. He was one of those brilliant genius types. I mean, like really legitimate genius type people that when you talk to them, you nod and act like you know what they're saying, but really, have you talked to somebody like that before and you're just like, whoa, yeah, I'm trying to keep up, I really am, but you know, you're just so smart. But this was one of the few times in the 4 years that I was in graduate school with him as my chair that he actually spoke to a group of us and I related to everything he said. And I haven't forgotten it, which is kind of amazing because, oh my goodness, have I forgotten a lot since graduate school. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what he said graduate school was about. The good news is it was about 2 things. And ironically, it wasn't about getting your degree and getting your license and then getting the job of your dreams and having a happily ever after kind of existence. Although I certainly wish that for you. I hope that you obviously going to get your degree and hopefully will be getting your license very soon. And I hope that leads to a fantastic job with wonderful outcomes, good salary, happy life afterwards. That's of course what we want for all of you. But he said that it's about overlearning, and what he meant by overlearning is that you're going to learn all these things in graduate school, and then you're going to forget most of them. And I'm here to tell you that I have forgotten most of what I learned in graduate school. All the courses I've taken, all the detail that I learned in graduate school, I've forgotten much of it throughout the years, because if you don't use it regularly, you forget about it. But when you learn it in detail, then you have to relearn it, and when you relearn it really pretty quickly. And you know where to go to relearn it. So that's the part of overlearning. That's not the part I want to focus on. I want to focus on the second reason why you go to graduate school. And the second reason why you go is for frustration tolerance. Now, fortunately for you, you haven't had any opportunity to have frustration in your program here at UND, right? There's been no frustration whatsoever. I'm quite sure of it. Now, of course there has been, right? There's been lots of frustration, and there will continue to be frustration. There's a lot of things to get frustrated about. You know, we, as a group, a few years back, our student group their motto was "We are change," and we did some things around that. But you know, it's been my experience that change is slow, and it's tedious, and it takes forever, and it's painstaking, and it's uncertain, and it's frustrating. But if we're going to make change, we need to get through the frustration tolerance to stick with it, right? You had to get through the frustration tolerance to stick with the program to get to this point. And frustration, if we let it get the best of us, is like sugar, high levels of sugar, to somebody who's diabetic. High levels of sugar with somebody who's diabetic leads to like poison in your system. And we know what too much frustration looks like, right? If you're overly frustrated in your job, it looks like lower productivity. It looks like a lowered empathy with our clients. It looks like toxicity at work. We're frustrated with each other. We get angry with each other. We might talk behind each other's back. You know, or you see other people. You see people at work that are really overly frustrated. They might do that. It can create its own negative culture. We might have lowered standards. We might seek to simplify life. We might get so frustrated and overwhelmed that we look for the simple answer. And that's not what you were here for. You were here for the complicated answer. We wanted to make you think about things in a more complicated way, because if you're going to be effective with your clients, you need to be thinking about things in a more complicated way, because simple answers and simple ways of thinking about things do not lead to good outcomes. Our clients need us to think about things in a more complex, individualized way, and that's hard, and that needs us to deal with the frustration of being able to work at that and be more complicated that way. So we need to avoid wishing things were more simple, avoid buying into simplistic ideologies, even though it may not necessarily be wrong, but those things can lead to more ineffective ways of doing things for us. So what does frustration tolerance look like then if we have good frustration tolerance? It helps us push through the messes. It helps us get the papers done when they're due at midnight on a Tuesday night, and you know it's 11 o'clock at night and you're still churning away and trying to get it done, but you're exhausted and you know you have to get up early the next morning, and you're working through that. It makes you persistent. It lets you not give up even though every fiber in your being wants to give up. It helps you with the challenges, but even more importantly, it helps you hone others around you too. It helps you develop a culture with your friends, your colleagues, your family, to try to push harder. The people in this room are people that helped support you through this process. They helped you with this frustration tolerance. They helped you to support you to push through and to get through that process. But frustration tolerance is not grown naturally. If things were natural for me, I would sit on my butt and watch Netflix. I would just sit and eye guzzle Netflix all day. That's what I would do if I could do things naturally. So what I need to do is I need to try to cultivate frustration tolerance, which seems to sound a little odd, but it's what we need to do. And it's kind of the hard way to do things. It's delaying some of that immediate gratification, right? Those of you that are working with direct service with clients, how many times do you have to deal with the problem of immediate gratification, right? And we need to be thinking about things in a little bit more complicated life, or complicated way, because that's our job. And now that's what it means to be an MSW social worker instead of a BSW social worker, because we're taking it to the next level. So what do? First of all, I think you question everything. Challenge things. Wonder about things. That's part of kind of cultivating and developing that frustration tolerance. You be a zebra. What? Okay. I told Ken before this, I only have a few stories, so I have to recycle every one of my stories. Yeah, he was going to say, the faculty can all tell my stories because I tell them all the time. A few years back, I was in Africa, and there's zebras out in the wild, and zebras, you know, they're black and white striped. And lo and behold, it wasn't a black and white striped environment. They stood out just like you'd expect them to stand out, right? But zebras are camouflaged. The black and white stripes, it's camouflage. How could that be, one might ask? They're camouflaged against one another, not against their environment. So the reason why they're camouflaged against one another is because if predators can't tell them apart, they can't separate them from the crowd, then when they're alone, that's when they're going to be the most vulnerable. So how, as a social worker, you want to be a zebra is you join forces with one another. You talk with your supervisor. You talk with your colleagues. When you get yourself in trouble is when you're a lone zebra, because you stand out and predators can see you very easily. Bad things happen to social workers that are out on their own and aren't talking with other social workers and not getting good supervision. Finally, you recharge, you celebrate, you work hard, you play hard, and so I encourage you, this is exactly one of those days. Congratulations, celebrate, enjoy what you've done. You've earned it. Very well done.
Thank you, Randy. I would like to share, if I can not cough, with all of you out there that I have a fairly unique privilege with these students, including our campus student who was my advisee. So I have a great kind of a long-term relationship with all the students here today, which is a very unique thing, because from the minute they get into the program, I get to send them the email that says, welcome, we want you, we believe in you, we know you can do this. And then they're stuck with me, some of them for 3 years, with those emails that keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. And so it really is exciting to get to this day and see you all grown up, and it always just feels a little bit like all my little chicks are walking across the stage, and I really value this day very much. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge all those little chicks that are out there watching today too, who can't be here today, because they are just as much a part of this program and have worked just as hard, and we're equally proud of you, and we're sorry that you can't be here today. So we'll wave at you, we'll call your name, and know that we appreciate and acknowledge your accomplishment as well. One other welcome that I've forgot is that our chair, Karen Lee Barkdahl, is out of country today, this week, and was not able to be here. But it is one of the days that, like all of us, she loves to celebrate, and she would very much want each one of you to know how proud she is of you and how much we know and she knows that you're going to go out there and be amazing MSWs. And if she was here, she'd have other more profound comments, but that's what you get because I'm here, and I know that she'd be very proud of you and be happy to see you walking across that stage today. So with that, I would like to introduce our faculty speaker, Deb DeWitz. These students, except for maybe one, have had Deb DeWitz in class a couple of times.
Almost forgot. Hi. They told me it was a hooding ceremony. So I decided that it would be appropriate if I would come. You all know me, right? No Red Riding Hood? Yeah. So I'm really happy to be here today and put my sticky sucker down on that table. And you're probably wondering what Little Red Riding Hood has to do with graduate education. But see, there's a lot that's similar between Little Red Riding Hood and graduate education. So you spent a whole bunch of time filling up your toolbox, right? Putting those theories in there, putting those skills in there, that values, that knowledge, putting all that stuff in your basket. And then you skip off after graduation to go serve others. Who are you going to serve? Grandmas. See, I get to play all the parts. I'm the grandma. I'm Red Riding Hood. Right? You get the grandma part? Come on. Be with me here. I said, is there going to be a PowerPoint? She said, no. I said, mean I got to go back to the 60s where we did this stuff without PowerPoint? And oh, back to that. So, one day, once upon a time, I was going over to see my grandma with a basket of goodies. Now, when you graduate, that's how you imagine yourself. You're Little Red Riding Hood with your basket of goodies, and off you go to see your clients. Because you want to do nice things for them. You want to do service for them. And that's a good idea. So, now, the story of Little Red Riding Hood, you see, has Little Red, right? And she's going off to see her granny. I'm dropping stuff all over the place. God, I hope my innards don't fall out. That would be awfully embarrassing. And the sun isn't even out anymore. Anyway, so you go off to see your granny, right? The people you are going to serve. That seems very simple, doesn't it? Now, if the story only had 2 characters, it would be a pretty easy story. It would have 2 characters. It has 3. Now we enter the wolf. The wolf is disguised. Please notice the disguise. Oh, wait. Can't even see. That was a really good disguise. Now you see the wolf? There you go. This is what I look like at night. Only the CPAP machine isn't on here yet. And what does the wolf have to do with this story of you, Red Riding Hood, hopping off to serve all of the people who will be your clients? It's not that there's some big bad wolf who's going to come to get you. But you have to watch out for it. Is that you don't become the wolf. Everybody's giving inspirational speeches here today. And I wish I could say that I'm proud of every social work graduate. The reason I'm not is that I have followed social workers into families where they felt like they'd been eaten by a wolf. by someone who had a social work degree, who hurt them, who scared them, who made them fear that they would lose their children, that they would lose their independence. They lived in fear of the very people that they try so hard to educate. So you're going to get your hood today. Oh yeah. You're going to get your hood. Right? What I want you to remember is not to become that wolf. That you got hooded, my friends, to do this. To be the ones who would do service. To take your basket of skills and knowledge and value and never to turn into that wolf who judges those clients, who says things to those clients that live on in their brains for a long time. Yeah, we say things that live on in their brains, but hopefully they're good things. Anybody ever said anything to you that was negative that you've never been able to forget? So I hope what you do is you never forget this wolf. And every time you walk out the door from seeing a client, or every time they walk out your door, you look in that mirror and you say, who was I today? Was I Little Red Riding with my hood? Or would they have described me as a scary wolf? So that's my charge to you today. Yes, go do service. You've got the knowledge and the values and the skills. And what's interesting, Vince and I had a conversation on the way up here, and you said you forgot everything you learned in graduate school. I must have been the only person who paid attention in graduate school. For God's sake, I remember all kinds of things from graduate school. Of course, I did take a sex education course, and that makes it easier for me. But I hope you never forget that every social worker has a capacity not only to carry a basket of goodies and to do service, to have the face of a wolf. And it is your job to protect your clients from the wolf within. Because we all have a wolf within. We all have those days where we're feeling tired and judgmental. You know, I remember when I took that first course and they said, non-judgmental attitude. And I thought, oh, well, that's easy. I don't judge anybody. Until I went out and started working. And then I remember thinking, I would never say that to my kids. Of course, I never had any kids. Right? So I had to guard against the wolf within. And when that wolf wanted to snarl at somebody who put off things and made me late, when I wanted to growl at somebody, a coworker who didn't pull their weight, when I wanted to be that wolf, I pick up that mirror. The most important tool you can have in your office, my friends, is a mirror. Because you are my friends now. You are my colleagues now. There is no one looking over your shoulder now. You are an MSW. And you better be able to look in that mirror and every day say, I was Little Red in my hood, and I was not the wolf. And may you be able to be that every day of your professional career. That's it. Thank you. 5-second rule.
Thank you, Little Red. Here's your notes. Thank you, Deb. As you can see, there are lots of reasons why we feel very privileged to have Deb as one of our master instructors, and we're happy to have her speak here today. So, our next speaker comes from the audience, and one of our students, Melissa Pfeffer, correct? I was worried I was going to say it wrong, so. I don't know, you got to follow that.
I know, no one told me I was following Red Riding Hood. I might have come back on volunteering. I just want to start off by thanking you all for letting me speak on behalf of the MSW Distance Class of 2018. As one of our wise professors used to say to us many times over, everything's an option. We opted to join this program 3.5 years ago. We opted to diligently do our assignments, those long, never-ending papers. Family of origin paper comes to mind. Our ISP, I guess it's called frustration tolerance, is what we've learned now. So, and we opted to go to class, and today it pays off. We did the work and we owe ourselves a huge pat on the back, but remember, we didn't do it alone. Thank you to our professors, the UND staff that assisted us, our family and friends who stood by us through it all. Thank you. You know, before I started this program, distance learning was such a foreign concept to me. I did take a distance learning course as an undergrad. That was forever and a half ago. Back then, distance learning meant you were mailed a book, a sheet of paper listing all your assignments, and then you did all your assignments, you mailed it back. There was no internet that we used. They didn't even use email. When you got everything turned in, then they mailed you a letter with your grade, and that course and grade magically appeared on your transcript. Needless to say, distance learning has come a long way. I remember that first day signing on to class. I was so nervous. I was constantly checking my equipment over and over, making sure everything was working right. I remember sitting there watching his names popped up on the attendance sheet, almost in full-on panic mode, worrying about having to turn on that camera and actually talk to everyone. No one wanted to be on camera. I think that's one thing that never changed through the whole program, was having to turn on that dreaded camera. Not to mention worrying about what your family members were doing in the background and what crazy moment would be immortalized in that class recording. But those worries and fears quickly settled over time, and we became a tight-knit group. It's pretty amazing if you think about how many miles apart we all live from each other and that we're able to form this bond. A year later, we welcomed the concentration students into our circle, and our cohort was complete. Despite what Carol told us about not purposely making any major life changes while going through this rigorous program, our cohort welcomed new babies, so many I'm ashamed to say I lost count. Some got engaged, married, moved to other countries. Some received life-altering medical diagnoses. Others cared for sick family members, and some mourned the death of loved ones. Life did not stop outside of our learning. Most of us had full-time jobs to maintain and loved ones who needed our precious time. It never felt like there was enough hours in the day. But as a group, we supported each other, we laughed together, we grieved together, and today we celebrate together. Through it all, we persevered, and we're here today celebrating the end of a milestone in our lives. But now what? At this point, I'm not sure where I'm going to land, and maybe some of you don't know either. But I do know this. We've all been trained to be change makers. We have the tools and talents within ourselves to make a difference. During this transitional moment, we say goodbye to grad school and enter a new phase of our lives. Some people will drift out of our lives while new ones enter. We will be faced with new challenges and new opportunities. And as you all know, it's both exciting and frightening all at the same time. But that's what drives us. For me, the fear of letting life pass me by, a passion to help people, and the opportunity to make a difference in this world gave me the drive to get through school and will hopefully carry me through to my next adventure, whatever that may be. I believe there's a reason for everything. Every success, every failure becomes a part of our story, acting as guideposts, pointing us along our life path. Don't be afraid to jump out of your comfort zone. You might discover something amazing about yourself. Never be afraid to admit your mistakes. Learn from them. Grow from them. Always live for the moment. Remember, every part of your life story is worth living. Every ugly, bitter, disappointing moment, as well as every beautiful, breathtaking, astonishing moment such as this. It all has meaning and worth because every bit of it makes up who we are. Over the past 3.5 years, it's truly been a great honor being a part of this program. Getting to know all my classmates and teachers, I cherish the friendships that have developed. I sincerely wish you all the best, that you pursue your passions, and you end up doing what you love to do. Thank you.
Well said, Melissa. She reminded me that while Randy was trying to give you a final exam out there, I do have one final assignment for you. Sorry. And all of you are probably going to have to help them with this one because like some of the others, they're going to need you. And that is, when I listened to Melissa, I was really reminded of the pace that you have been on for the last 3.5 to 2.5 years, depending on when you came into the program. It has been a pace that had really little time for you or little time just to be. And what we know from systems theory and equilibrium and all of those kinds of things, that making changes, we kind of fight to get back to what it is that we know. And what you've come to know for 3 years or more is this heavy stress, gotta do, gotta do, gotta do, gotta do. So my assignment for you and for all of you to help them with is to practice being. Practice being comfortable with not having to do anything at the moment. Okay, now that sounds pretty easy, but what I know happens is the tendency to fill it up with something else that I've got to do, something else that I've got to do, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to get back to equilibrium. So I'm really going to challenge you to be present, and all of you, take that stick and say, wait a minute, it's okay just to be. It's okay not to have to be doing something for somebody else all the time or something that somebody wants you to do. So really challenge you to take care of yourself and change that model of stress level and learn to be comfortable with just being. So, okay, it's your last assignment. All right, now we get to the fun part. So we are going to now move to our hooding ceremony, the actual hooding process. And for that, I would ask the faculty to all come up and line up here. Okay. So how this will work, I'll call the student's name, and I will also introduce the title of their independent study project, and then they will actually be hooded by their advisor. And the advisor is the person who guided them through that torturous project. And so that's that relationship there. So the very first person is Megan Bergman, and I was her advisor. Her independent study title was Trauma in Early Childhood, How Experiences Affect Neurodevelopment and Attachment to Primary Caregivers. Forgot to tell you, feel free to get as close as you need to for cameras. We'll wait for you. Congratulations. Yep, go down and shake everybody's hand. Absolutely, it's the gauntlet you have to run. Okay. Next is Holly Bernard, who could not be here today. Her independent study was The Adolescent in Foster Care, a training manual on the unique needs of a vulnerable population. And I was also Holly's advisor. Congratulations, Holly. It's a virtual hoodie. The next person is Alyssa Bowman, and I also had the privilege of being Alyssa's advisor. Her independent study was Samoan Youth, Cultural Differences, Conflicting Factors, and a Hope for a Better Educational Future. She did a great job. Okay, Mitchell Brewer is our next candidate. I was also his advisor. There really are other faculty who do this. I just want you to know I got all the B's for some reason. Mitchell wrote a grant to for a suicide prevention program and entitled it A Culturally Relevant Response to Suicide Prevention for Native Americans.
Mitchell came to us all the way from Rapid City.
Our next candidate is Kelly Cooper. Her independent study was entitled Undocumented Latinos, How Social Workers in Minnesota Can Make a Difference. And her advisor, Kaylin Alt, was unable to be here, and so I have the privilege of hooding her today. Okay, so our next candidate is Ashley Hammond. Sexual and Gender Minorities Within Mental Health Care, an Educational Manual, and Bruce Reeves was her advisor. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have to gauntlet it.
So our next, yes, you do have to go to the gauntlet. Our next candidate is Vicki Harkness, who could not be here today. She's from Sioux Falls. Her independent study was entitled The Importance of Integrating Motivational Interviewing in Primary Care Facilities, and Randy Nettegard was her advisor. Vicki, congratulations. Denise Hedinger could not be here today. Her independent study was Animal-Assisted Therapy, the Use and Implementation of AAT in School Settings, and Barbara Kitko was her advisor. Congratulations, Denise. Our next candidate is Heather Eibach, Implementation Manual of the Stages of Change. Her advisor was Todd Sage, who has since finished her ISP with her, but he moved to New York, and so she's asked Vince Lindgren to hood her. You guys, did you get your pictures? Did you get enough? Okay, just checking. Heather Gauntlet. Mm-hmm. Our next candidate is Erin Yeager, who was not able to be here today. Her ISP was about adult guardianship, and Ken Flanagan was her advisor. Good job. Virtual hooding. Gerald Joseph was unable to be here today. His ISP was Utilizing Evidence-Based Practice and Integrative Health in a Social Work Practice to Treat Individuals Facing Chronic Pain, and Andrew Quinn was his advisor. Congratulations, Gerald. Virtual hooding. Our next candidate is Mariah Knutson. Her independent study was The Effects of Secondary Traumatic Stress on Social Workers in the Emergency Department, and Barbara Kitko was her advisor.
Right, there you go.
There we go.
Second time.
Get her dressed. It's okay.
Okay, there we go. Thanks, Barb.
Nice job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is was unable to be here. Her name is Cassie Kraft. Her independent study was Poverty Definitions Overview, an overview and strategies aimed at eradication. And Ken Flanagan was her advisor. Congratulations, Cassie. Our next candidate is here, Thomas Creamer. His independent study was on veteran reintegration, identifying issues and plans for engagement. Randy Nedergaard was his advisor, and he just got hired at the VA. Woo, woo! Congratulations. Our next candidate, Jenna Ladinsky, cannot be here. Her independent study was Tiny Homes for Chronically Homeless Individuals Developing Transformative Housing. That seems really interesting, doesn't it? And her advisor was Randy Nedergaard. Congratulations, Jenna. Curiosity about tiny homes. Our next candidate, Liana Lunsfoot, is here, all the way from Milwaukee? Marquette. Okay, well, welcome. Her independent study is informing culturally competent service practices for the Keweenaw Bay Indian community, and her advisor was Bruce Reeves. We're very proud of her. Thank you. Congratulations. Nice work. Brett's worried about my hoarseness. Thank you, Brett. See if it helps. Our next candidate, Toby McLaren, was unable to be here. Her ISP was on alternative response in rural North Dakota, and Karen Lee Barkdahl, the chair of our program, was her advisor. Congratulations, Toby. Amanda Myers also was not able to be here, but I've talked to her a couple times today. Her independent study was review of the pretrial system implications for enhancing social justice in future pretrial practice, and I was her advisor. Amanda, it's a virtual hooding. Good job. Jennifer Newman is here, yay. Proper care for a person with severe and persistent mental illness in a long-term care facility. She's hooded by her advisor, Bruce Reeves. Congratulations. Oh, I'm so happy for you.
All the way from Utah.
All the way from Utah. There you go. I was just thinking, I don't know where, off the top of my head. If they're mine, I know where they're from. But I don't know where everybody's from right off the top of my head. So we're glad to have it. All the way from Utah. Cool. And our next candidate is Melissa Pfeffer. Suicide Crisis Intervention Techniques for First Responders. And Bruce Reeves was her advisor. Montana, yes. We've got a lot of out-of-staters today, so Montana, absolutely. Montana, Utah, Idaho. Who's from Idaho? Oh,
Ashley.
Ashley? Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah, cool. Our next candidate, Dana Rave. Crisis intervention in the hospital setting for children experiencing trauma and bereavement, and I got to be her advisor. Our next candidate, Vincent Rohr. His independent study was titled Bridging the Gap, Healing ICWA and Child Welfare Practices in North Dakota. And Karen Lee Barkdahl was his advisor, but because she isn't here, I have the privilege of hooding Vinny. Good job. A couple of other students who were unable to attend, we want to make sure we acknowledge them. Josh Simmers. Sorry you didn't get to come, Josh. Faith-based foster care and recruiting. Melanie Sage was his advisor. Congratulations, Josh. And Revel Weber, program proposal for an early intensive development and behavioral intervention program for the White Earth Reservation business community. And our chair, Karen Lee Barkdahl, was her advisor as well. Congratulations, Revel. Okay. Wow, that went fast. Yeah. So this actually concludes our program. I'd like for the graduates to stand up, turn around, give applause to your family, tell them thank you. So it goes longer, and it's dinner time and everybody's starving, so we let you go to dinner, and we're going to do that anyway, but wow. So one of the things that we would like is to ask our graduates to, do you want to do it here, or do you want to do it at the fireplace? The picture, we need to get together for a picture. Okay, so would the graduates gather right up here under this logo, and we'll take some pictures of all of you together. And those of you who are going to the graduation ceremony tomorrow, 9 a.m., you have to be there like at 8, right? Okay. And then thank you very much for coming. We appreciate all the contribution you made to your students. Thank you.